What is up, you guys? Welcome back to another video for the 12 days of Wolfmas. This is day 4. We're up $1,500 and I'm giving it all to you guys. Just make sure you subscribe. I had to fly all the way to California to see this guy, Marcelo. What's up, baby?
We're back. The boys are back at 760, baby. Agua, let's run it up.
Agua Caliente, the home casino. We're gonna try to get some Pocket Kings today and run it up for the vlog. Make sure you subscribe to be eligible for that free money I'm giving away, and let's get right into the hands. Let's go.
Wolfmas.
Agua Caliente holds a special place in my heart. It's where my vlog first started, and I've always ran well here, and I'm hoping today is no different. We hop into the 1-3 for $300. It turns out all you have to do is wear Pocket Kings on your hat if you want to see them at the table. Literally the first hand after sitting down, I look down at Pocket Kings from under the gun, and I raise it up to $15. We're going to get called in 3 spots. That means we are 4 ways to a flop, which comes 5-5-4, a pretty great board for my hand. The small blind checks it over to me, and I decide to bet out for $35 into the field, and only the small blind puts in the call, leading us to see the 7 of clubs on the turn. When he checks it over to me for a second time, I debate going for a bet or actually check behind here and play my hand a little bit deceptively. The logic for checking behind is if he has a 5, we're going to want to only play 2 streets of value here. If he has a pair like 6s or 8s or 10s or something like that, it's unlikely we're going to get 3 streets of value, so if I check behind here, it's possible he bluffs into me on the river, and then I'd call his bluff. If he checks to me on the river, I'm just going to bet and get value. So I decide to check behind and play this hand a little bit tricky, and the river card comes the 8 of hearts. He checks it over to me for a 3rd time, so now my Pocket Kings are definitely undervalued and under-repped, and I'm going to represent them for $65 into the $130 pot. The opponent doesn't think too long before cutting out some red chips. He puts in the call, I turn over my cards. He mucks, easy game, and we're on to the next hand, Ace-King offsuit from the button. Already up $130 on the session, going straight to you guys. I decide to raise it up to $20 over a few limps, and only the cutoff puts in the call, and that leads us to a flop heads up. Great flop for us. Again, it comes King 9-6 with 2 hearts. When he checks it over to me, gonna go for that standard 1/3 pot size bet. If you guys are ever unsure how much to bet on a flop and you're in position, just default to the 33% pot bet. You usually can't go wrong with that. That's what I decided to do. He puts in the call, and now the Queen of Spades peels off on the turn. I guess it's a kind of bad card because if he had a hand like King Queen or Queen 9, he now would have me beat. When he checks it over to me for a second time, I'm going to keep going for value, protecting my hand against those heart draws and worse kings. So I decide to fire out for $55 into the $77 pot. What I don't expect though is him to jam all in for $140. When he jams here, it's unlikely he has a draw like the heart draw. It's more likely he has a hand like 10 Jack, King Queen, Queen 9, or maybe 9s or 6s that slow played the flop. So for that reason, I think about my options here for about 30 seconds, but at the end of the day, it's low stakes. People like to bluff in weird spots, and I'm not going to fold here for around $90 more. So I end up putting in the call, expecting to be beat a large portion of the time, but just really can't be folding with top here. The river card comes the 5 of hearts, so now the only draw available now has me beat. But fortunately for me, the opponent turns over Queen Jack offsuit. Not exactly sure why he ripped the turn with that, but we're going to win the maximum here. $357 coming my way, and I know you guys got to be pretty stoked about that result. If you're stoked about that result, check out this one. I look down at Pocket 6s from the small blind. Bunch of limps, so I raise it up to $15, and we're going to get called in 6 spots. Yes, we are going 7 ways to a flop with Pocket 6s. And a desirable flop would definitely have one that has a 6 on it, and it comes Queen 8-6, bang, we flop bottom set. The only caveat, the only negative downside of this flop is the fact there are 3 spades on board, so of course someone could have flopped that flush, but we can still suck out on them on the turn of the river with a board pairing card. When the action checks to me, I decide to bet out for $30, just kind of trying to figure out where I'm at. If we get raised, it's possible they have a flush, but we're also going to get called by a lot of hands like Ace-Jack with the Ace of Spades, Ace-King with the Ace of Spades. So yeah, betting out here can't be a bad move. We're building the size of the pot and charging the opponents if they want to draw to a hand. When we bet out for 30, middle position now goes all in, but it's not too scary. It's only $10 more than my $30 bet. But now the button decides to go all in as well, and his is a little bit scarier. It's $182. But at the end of the day, it's only $150 more for me to put in the call. And if I'm behind a flush, you guys know I can pair the board or make quads on the turn or the river. So at the end of the day, I'm not folding my set here. I put in the call and we're going to go off to a turn and a river 3 ways with both other opponents already all in. I have them covered. The turn comes off the 7 of spades and immediately the button turns over ace-5 offsuit with the ace of spades. So yeah, he turned the nut flush. Gonna need the board to pair on the river and we get it. The 7 of diamonds comes on the river. I love those 7s and they do me good here. $494 coming my way. The player in middle position folds his cards. And just like that, we're up to $840 on the session. With $840 in our stack, we look down at a suited ace from the hijack. Few limps to me, so I raise it up to $15. And we're gonna get 6 callers once again. We got 6 callers with our pocket sixes, and then we flop the set. Let's see if we can flop a flush or maybe a wheel with our ace-4 suited. Off 7 ways to a flop, but that's not what we get. It comes queen jack 5 with 1 diamond. Sure, we have the backdoor straight draw. Sure, we have an overcard and a backdoor diamond draw, but not really loving this flop. So when the action's on me, I decide to check. And the action checks over to the button who bets out for a whopping $15. When 2 players put in the call and the action's back onto me, I'm not going to be folding for $15. I have some backdoor draws. Let's see if we can pick up anything on the turn. So I put in the $15 and we see a board pairing 5 of clubs on the turn. Not exactly what the doctor ordered. And so I decide to check when the action's on me and the action checks back around to the cutoff who now fires out for $20. Small blind gets out of the way. The under the gun +1 puts in the call. And for some reason, I decide to get sticky and put in the call once again. I'm pretty much getting a 10-1 on my money. So we're looking to see an ace on the river. That would be the best card to see. But we don't get it. It comes to 6 of hearts. Under the gun checks it to me. I check it over to the cutoff. And he checks behind, turning over the best hand, king, queen offsuit. $225 coming his way. Can't win every hand now, can we? I wanted to announce the launch of my training course with my buddy Alvin. The whole purpose of this 12 days of Wolfmas is to give back to you guys, and another way I'm doing that is by creating a training course that should be valued at $500 or more and only making it a tenth of the price for $50. With that, you're going to get tons of hours of GTO solves. You're going to get a lot of tips and tricks from Alvin that he puts into his $700 and $800 courses. And yeah, because I'm partnered with him, I made it $50 for the pre-sale up until Christmas. After that, it's a cool price of $69, but no memes here. It's actually great value. I can't believe he decided to do it with me. And I'm pretty stoked to give it away to you guys. I'm going to pick a few people to give it away for free. The rest of you guys should definitely consider getting it for $50 and lock that price in now. I also go over some of my vlogs with him and he dissects my mistakes. And there's a lot of Q&As that I did from my Instagram poll and he goes over them with you. Like how to manage your bankroll, how to play in certain spots, how to play small blind versus big blind. A lot of value there. Go check the link in the description to pre-order that for $50. And thanks for all the support, you guys. Now let's run it up for you guys. I'm going to give away a ton of money. Moving on to the next one, we look down at queen jack of spades from under the gun. I open it up to $15. We're going to get called in 2 spots, under the gun +2 and the big blind. We're going to go 3 ways to a flop, which comes king high, but there's 2 spades, king 6-5. Pretty great board for us because we could have a king. We obviously have that flush draw that we know is going to come in on the turn or the river. When the big blind checks it over to me though, if you guys know how I play, when I'm in between 2 opponents, I usually like to start with a check. That's what I do with my entire range, and that's what I do in this hand, and it checks over to the under the gun, who checks behind, giving us the flush on the turn, the 9 of spades. Bang, we turn the flush. Great spot here when I check the flop. My hand is under repped. The big blind checks it over to me. And now I'm going to have to go for value and target any of the kings, maybe any of the 1-pair type hands, like ace-6 with the ace of spades. So when the big blind checks to me, I bet out for $35, but we're not going to get any extra money into this pot. Everyone folds. They know I'm running good, and they don't want to give me any more money. The ladies want to help me out in this challenge. We look down at them from the hijack. Few limps to me, so I open it up to $20. We're going to get called in 2 spots once again. The big blind and the low jack both put in the call. We are 3 ways to a flop. In position, which is nice, and even nicer is the flop, which comes ace queen 10. Bang, we flop middle set. Lots of bangs, and no surprise, the ladies give us one more. The big blind checks it over the low jack. I expect him to check it over to me, but he does not. He wants to represent something on this board, and he bets out for $20. Now the action's on me, and do you guys go for a raise here, or would you just put in the call, stringing him along and also probably bringing in the big blind as well? My logic with just calling here is if a club peels off on the turn, we can proceed with caution. If one doesn't, we can raise the turn. So I decide that I want to put in the 20 bucks here and hopefully bring in the big blind as well. And that's what I decide to do. Unfortunately for us, the plan does not come to fruition. The big blind gets out of the way and we are off heads up to the turn, which now comes the 9 of clubs. Not exactly the best card in the world. It brings in some hands like Jack 8 or any hand that has 2 clubs in it, but now the low jack decides to slow down and check it over to me. Not exactly sure what his line is, donking into me on the flop only to check to me on the turn, but he does, and I'm going to go for a half pot size bet even though the front door club draw now comes in. I still have pocket queens, the board could pair on the river if he's playing this tricky, but something tells me he doesn't have the flush and he has maybe a 2 pair type of hand or maybe a worse set like pocket 10s. So when he checks, I bet 50, he puts in the call, and we are off to the river. The river card comes a very clean card, the 5 of spades. I would have preferred to see another queen, obviously, maybe an ace, maybe a 10, who knows. But the opponent checks it over to me now for a second time, and I think checking behind here would be a crime. Now the only decision is how big to bet. We're going to have to get value from any of his ace-type hands like ace-king, ace-6, ace-4. I think they could call one more street, but given the fact that he doesn't seem to have a flush, I don't think I can go too big, so I decide to go small. I go a quarter of the pot for $50. He puts in the call, which means we have to be good with our set. Sure enough, we are. He turns over ace-5 offsuit. He did have a 5 of clubs in his hand. Would have been dirty to see another club on the river, but that's not how it's going to work out for him. Instead, it's working out well for us. $307 coming my way, and I'm giving it all away to you guys. It feels pretty good. Even though that table was treating us well, we have a friend on this table, so we're going to table change over to it, and I look down at ace-9 of clubs from the cutoff. Few limps to me, so I'm going to bump it up to $20. We want to play big pots and win them in order to give more money to you guys, so that's what I decided to do, and 2 players put in the call. Now, if we're trying to play big pots, we also need to see big hands, and that's exactly what we get when the flop comes king 8 deuce, bang, we flop the ace-high flush. What poker gods have I been praying to? Probably all of them. Look at this run good I'm on. Absolute heater, and I'm pretty stoked to have a flopped flush, so when the action checks to me, I'm going to go small here. I know some of you say you might check behind, but if someone has the queen of clubs, 10 of clubs, or a king in their hand, they're not going anywhere, so I'm going to bet out on this flop, try to build the size of the pot. I bet out for $20, and unfortunately, no one has squad douche. They both fold, so although it feels pretty good to flop the flush, feels pretty bad not to win any more money, but no worries, we're going to look down at ace-king offsuit from the low jack. Got a cool $1,000 in my stack, so yeah, we're up $700 already in this session, and I raise it up to $15 over a few limps. 2 of those limpers put in the call, and that's going to lead us to a flop, which gives us top, king, queen, 8 with 2 spades. The big blind checks it over to me. I'm in between the big blind and the hijack. You know that means I'm going to start with a check. Even on a draw heavy board like this, the hijack decides to check behind, bringing in the 4 of diamonds on the river. Big blind checks it over to me for a second time. Got to spring the trap now and bet out for $35 into that $50 pot. And just like that, like clockwork, both other players fold. So yeah, they had nothing again, and we're going to take down that pot. Leading us to the last hand of the night, ace-jack offsuit from the button. Middle position opens it up to $10. You know I'm going to 3-bet him to 30. He puts in the call, and that leads us to a favorable flop, as Andrew Nemi would say, and it comes ace-high with 2 diamonds. He checks it over to me, which I expect him to do with a large portion of his range. Occasionally, he could be donking out here with pocket 7s and pocket 6s, given the fact that I'm not going to fold any ace, and also given the fact that 8-9 is a draw, 4-5 is a draw, and there's the front door diamond draw. But that's neither here nor there. He decides to check it over to me, and I go for a 1/3 pot size bet, which is usually the default bet, and he puts in the call, and that brings in another red card. The 7 of hearts peels off, giving me 2 pair. When he checks it over to me for a second time, I look at the size of his stack. He has not topped up. He only has around $55 left. I'm setting up for a nice shove here. It's around half the size of the pot. It would be pretty hard for him to fold with any 2 cards. So when he checks it over to me, I rip him all in for $55. But to my surprise, he folds. So not exactly sure what he called pre-flop, then called the flop, and then folded for $55 for. But I guess he wanted to see some more hands and hold on to that money. But I'm not complaining taking down that $100 pot. And with that being said, we rack up our chips, lock in this profit, and head over to the cage, exchanging them for some cold, hard cash. Alright you guys, day 4 of the 12 days of Wolfmas is a success. We're bumping that total up. We're up $1,500. We won $722 tonight. We're up over $2,200, and it's all going to you guys. Make sure you drop a subscribe down below in order to win some of that money. It makes me feel really good giving back and hopefully starting some of your guys' bankrolls. and doing the dirty work for you. So if you guys appreciate that, drop a comment down below. As always, good luck on the felt, and I'll catch you guys in the next video. Peace. Thanks for watching to the end of my video. Click my head below to subscribe and stay in the loop. See you next time.